my childhood.
All right. Thank you for listening to Ruin My Childhood, the podcast where we decide if some things are better off left in the past. I'm Mike.
And I'm Kat.
And we're going to be doing another Christmas special. We decided to watch Jingle All The Way. And I'm not really sure how I feel about watching this one. What do you remember about it?
I think we watched it like last year.
Last year or the year before, yeah.
I think I remember it being really bad.
Yeah, this was one that was, I remember watching it as a kid. Like, this came out when we were like 8 or 9. I think it was 96 or 97. And I remember liking it as a kid, but this wasn't one that I owned. So it wasn't one that was like huge for me.
Yeah, I definitely saw it on TV when I was a kid. Definitely didn't go to the movies for this.
I think I may have seen this in theater, but I really don't recall. Like, I know I liked it as a kid, but the only things I can really remember is I know he's going after a Turbo Man doll. I know that kid from Star Wars is in it. And I think Sinbad is in it.
Yeah.
And that's all I really remember.
I
think Phil Hartman's in it.
Yeah, Phil Hartman is in it. I definitely remember them using some of the same tropes, like the father's working too much or he's too invested in his career and is ignoring his son. Right, yeah, everyone was divorced and neglecting their kids. I guess that makes sense.
Yeah.
But I really don't remember a heck of a lot about this movie.
No, I don't either. I definitely remember watching this with you a couple of years ago. I could have sworn you told me a couple years ago that it was your first time watching it, but I could be misremembering that.
Probably.
Well, let's just go watch the movie and see how it is.
All right.
This holiday season, as you gather around the table, remember to duck. Because Arnold Schwarzenegger,
I will get that toy.
I promise, Sinbad,
This man is totally insane.
thank you, and everyone else in town
These two are looking for a Turbo Man!
are all after the same toy.
Turbo Man.
Turbo Man.
Turbo Man.
Turbo Man!
Oh, good baby.
Jingle All The Way. Rated PG. Parental guidance suggested. Friday.
All right, so we just watched Jingle All The Way, and honestly, I kind of liked it.
I liked it a lot better this time around. It's funny, as we watched it, I was remembering the last time we watched it quite a bit more. And I definitely was more entertained this time. I'm not really sure why that is.
Well, the thing that's interesting about this movie is it was produced by Chris Columbus, not directed, but produced.
Mm-hmm.
And, this was like Arnold Schwarzenegger's like second family-friendly movie. Like, he did a couple other comedies, but this was like his second one he's with kids.
He was big when this movie came out.
I think he got like $20 million for this movie. I think
That's
I read
insane.
that somewhere.
That is
researching.
absolutely insane.
Well, this was 96. I think I said earlier it was 97 or 98, but this was 1996, so this was only, a few years after Terminator 2. He was at his peak. This was before, he was on his decline, before he was the Governor.
Yeah.
So I can see why they spent the money on him.
Well, and with Chris Columbus backing it, it's not like they didn't have the money. And I still remember back in the day, this got a really huge release and a lot of advertising.
And a lot of merch.
I still remember like when it actually came out for home, like that even got a whole bunch of advertising as well.
I'm pretty sure they made Turbo Man toys and action figures, like, for in real life, the little like fake toy in this. I'm pretty sure that was real, just like the Talk Boy for Home Alone 2.
Right. Do you want to do a quick synopsis of it?
Yeah, this one's pretty simple. You kind of said something similar in our intro, I think, where I think you've mentioned, the trope of the 90s father who's not around.
Yeah.
But basically how this starts is Arnold Schwarzenegger is like a mattress salesman, like he owns a mattress store, and he's missing his son Jamie, played by Jake Lloyd from Star Wars.
Ugh.
He's got like a karate kid, and he's going to his karate class to get a new belt, and he misses it. He does that stereotypical thing where he misses everything. So the son's like super upset, and he promises him he's going to get him a Turbo Man action figure. And the whole movie is him just getting this action figure, and there's just crazy hilarity and just crazy antics throughout the whole movie.
I think a lot of this movie was inspired by the Tickle Me Elmo hysteria.
Well, I looked that up. That was actually it happened the same year that this movie came out.
Oh, geez, that's horrifying.
So it just happened. It's just
so
coincidence.
Chicken or the egg situation.
Well, this movie I'm sure was in production before, because it was the same year. So there's no way.
But did people think that was appropriate behavior because of this movie?
Well, when you look at it, like after this movie and after
is this
Chicken
movie
Little-
responsible for the downfall and commercialization of Christmas? Is this movie the war on Christmas?
Because you had, let's see, you had Tickle Me Elmo, then you had like Furby and Beanie Babies and stuff like that. But yeah, this movie, I actually had some fun with this movie watching it.
I did too.
The opening scene in this movie has it kind of looks like a Power Rangers knockoff, but it's Turbo
Right.
Man. It starts with
I was
like an action
confused. I was genuinely confused.
What were you confused about?
Because at first I thought it was like we were watching a clip of the TV show.
We were.
But then, right. But usually that happens in movies and they're not integrating it with the opening credits.
Yeah, that
then
was a
you
little
see
weird.
Arnold Schwarzenegger. I'm like, wait, what? Huh? I don't
Oh, that's
remember
right.
him being an actor in this movie.
You asked me
the
if he was
character-
playing himself.
I know. I just wasn't paying attention.
But it had some pretty good production values in this movie.
It did, despite Jake Lloyd. I had forgotten that he was always terrible, even before Star Wars.
Yeah, that poor kid
Jake
though.
Lloyd.
Like, so he did this movie, and he was fine. He was like an average child actor in this, I'd say. But then he did Star
I think
Wars.
he was below average.
But everybody says like the trilogy or that prequel trilogy is not a good set of movies. But everyone's like makes it like it's his fault. Like he was just a child.
No, I mean he was a genuinely terrible actor. But those movies, like Ewan McGregor, we were talked about this the other day. Ewan McGregor, Liam Neeson, Natalie Portman. All of these incredible actors were in those movies, and even they couldn't turn out good performances.
No. So you're
I'll give him
saying
a little
Jake
break
Lloyd
with that.
is an excellent actor, and he's been poorly directed.
No, he was pretty bad in this movie.
So yeah,
all right.
Jake
So I guess we
Lloyd-
can forgive Jake Lloyd because he was a child, but he is pretty annoying in this.
You know what dates this movie the most?
Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Sinbad. Arnold Schwarzenegger still does a few movies now.
Occasionally.
But Sinbad,
After he got past his whole,
governed.
knocking up his maid
help.
scandal and the
Yeah.
salad tossing
Oh.
situation. I mean, he's kind of a disgusting person.
Yeah. What I liked about that opening scene, it was really funny. So he is on the phone with a bunch of different customers, and he's like, "You're my favorite customer," or "You're
Right.
my number one customer," and then his wife calls and is like, "Hey, you gonna come?" And he like, "Yeah, I'll be there in just a little bit." And then he hangs, like he's about to hang up, and he says, "You're my favorite customer." To
It's
his
his
wife.
knee jerk. I've definitely told people I love them when hanging up, when it was definitely not appropriate, and I definitely did not love them.
Oh.
I can attest to how easy it is for that to slip out.
That's
when
funny.
that's usually what you say when you talk on the phone.
That's really funny. It's like the.
But here's the thing. Like, okay, in the Santa Claus, which we just did, he's just kind of partying after work. But this guy, he's
working.
actually working. He's actually working. Then he
There was a
leaves, and
party
he's
downstairs, and he was
actually
working.
in traffic. Yeah, like he's an okay guy.
He is and he isn't. Like, he is working hard, but he's clearly putting his work over his family. And then he's not a nice guy. Like, he's in traffic and he starts driving on the shoulder.
Right. He's
And
very
then-
entitled.
Yeah, he's very entitled. And then, like, he's kind of a jerk to Sinbad the entire movie for no reason. Like, Sinbad is in the same situation as he is. He's trying to have some, like, just like a comrade in this, like, whole situation. And he's just kind of a jerk to him, which just makes the whole movie go crazier. Because ultimately, like, Sinbad goes crazy and becomes, like, a supervillain.
Right. Like, literally. I think Sinbad's character was mentally unstable to begin with, though. So, like, maybe he sensed that, you know, like, when a crazy person kind of latches onto you in a crowd, and you have to be a little bit rude so that they
Yeah,
don't get the idea that you're buddies now. Like,
I definitely
that
had a
happens to me a
situation
lot.
that,
I don't know if you attract crazy people that
I
way.
had a
but...
situation like that at Macy's the other day when I was getting my Secret Santa gift. Like, this person just started talking to me, and then at first it was just like normal conversation, but then it started getting weirder and weirder stuff, like about her family in like Detroit. And then I finally
here's
had to
the
just
flip
pull out my
side,
phone.
though. I talk to people in line. So am I that person?
Yes.
Yeah, definitely. I don't remember the main character's name in this movie.
Howard.
Howard, thank you. Now, his neighbor Ted,
Played by the late Phil Hartman.
well, R.I.P. Why are all the neighborhood ladies so thirsty for Ted? Like, he's creepy.
Well, no, he's only creepy to Liz, played by Rita Wilson,
He's always creepy.
because he wants her and she doesn't want. But he's handy and he's clearly got money, and he clearly takes care of the women when he fixes their home issues.
Oh, you think he's like a gigolo?
He's
I
not a
think he's
gigolo,
just-
but he's going to like women's houses to like fix a leaky pipe, and then he fixes their leaky pipes.
Ew!
It's
I
very
don't
heavily
think
implied.
so. I think he's just available, and it's like that proximity thing.
Well, no, so like there's
Like-
all the different women come up to him.
Like, there are attractive men, and then they are men who are attractive despite being British. You know, like, there are different bars that you set
right.
depending on your
But
social
this
circle and
gentleman,
availability.
like, has money. He seems to be a nice family man, and he's handy and can cook, and he listens. But like 3 different women at the karate class go up to him and are like, "Hey, can you come and fix this?" Or, "Oh, it was so great when you fixed my light," and everything like that. And he's like,
I
"Oh,
think
I
they're
had the
just-
right tool."
Busy single working mothers who have no other outlet to meet men.
And are hurting for a squirting.
Yeah, but he is not, like, he wasn't an attractive dude.
Nah, he's
And
super
the
handsome.
character's kind of creepy.
No, the character is super creepy.
Anyway, I do find it strange, and this is like a pretty major plot hole because the entire premise of the movie rests on this. But this woman, the mom, she
Right.
knows her husband.
Yeah.
He has habitually let her down, let her son down. This is his MO. Why on earth would she have relied on him to get the
this toy.
There's no way.
I don't know why. And it appears to be that she's a stay-at-home mom, so there's no reason for her to have not gone and got the action figure.
Right. Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't like that
I
major
don't-
plot hole.
Yeah, it doesn't really make sense, but, it is what it is. I have to say, despite, even if he didn't get the toy, that kid has it pretty good. He's got his karate class.
His
That
room
bedroom
is
was
sick.
awesome. He had a giant Captain America, like, mural. He had, like, Spider-Man pillows. He had X-Men sheets.
Right.
And, he had a huge room. I never had my own room.
I mean,
Screw
the
you,
kid's
Jake
a little
Lloyd.
spoiled, but, like, I don't know. I feel like you should kind of understand when your dad's not there because he's working. Like, it'd be different if his dad were just, like, screwing around. Like, I don't know. I feel like the kid was kind of rude. And
Yeah.
then, like, the kid straight up yells at him several times, which would have gotten me backhanded back in
he
the day.
did.
But the dude is, like, leaving. So we realize that he didn't actually get the toy. He tells his wife that he's going to the office to pick it up because he left it there. And the kid, like, straight up yells at him because he's going to miss the parade. Like, the kid comes at him all hot. And if that were me, if that were my kid, I'd be like, screw you, kid. Like, that would be my knee-jerk reaction.
Like, don't you yell at me. Don't you
Right.
curse at me.
Don't you curse at me?
So, like you said, he pretends or he lies and says he already got it and he needs to go to the office because he left it at the office because he didn't want to keep it in the house.
Right.
Which, that's a pretty good lie. Good on him for figuring that excuse out, even though it's wrong. So he goes shopping and he meets Myron, played by Sinbad, and they're like waiting for the store to open, and he goes on this like really crazy rant about how the toys are run by the toy cartels and that there's subliminal messaging, and he knows all about it because he's on the
Right.
inside because he took a semester at community college and psychology. And so I thought that was really funny, and I looked it up, and apparently like all of Sinbad's lines were improv.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
No wonder they were so weird.
Yeah.
Sinbad's a weird dude. Like, what's he up to lately? Is he still working?
I honestly have no idea. I don't care to find out. But, whatever. But I actually liked his character. He was a little bit over the top.
A little. Okay, the dude straight up assaulted a woman, like, within
Oh,
5
that's
minutes
right.
of
He's
meeting.
in the middle of his rant. He's like talking about the toy, and then he reaches out and chokes a woman.
He chokes a woman, and instead of being like, dude, you just assaulted me, at the end, like, he loosens his grip, and she's like, oh, oh well. Like, what?
Well, the thing
Excuse
that's
me?
weird is, so this movie moves pretty quick. So they go to that first store and everyone's laughing at them because they're sold out of the toy. And so there's like a montage of him shopping at all these different places. And then they randomly run into each other in like the street again.
Right.
And a guy just runs by like, they've got more toys at this place. And
Does
so
that
they go,
guy know them?
No, he's just like, he probably
Some
just assumed,
random man on the street.
he probably just saw two men and assumed they were in the same boat as him.
I mean, that's true. You never see more men shopping than you do on Christmas Eve.
Yep. So they run into each other. He's like, let's be allies. Let's work together. We'll help each other out. And Howard's like, no, I need to do this on my own.
Right.
So Myron kind of gets this like look in his eye and he's like, all right, well, you're against me. And throughout this movie, there's this cop that keeps coming back. So when he's driving on the shoulder, he gets pulled over by a cop. And then this
Dude's
next
working
scene,
like a long shift.
right. This same scene when like the guy's like, hey, they got the toy. Arnold jumps in his car, backs into this motorcycle, and it's the same cop. So he gets, another ticket. And they go to the mall, and there's this like ridiculous scene where they're going to be raffling off a toy with they give out balls that have like numbers on it, and
They
this
just
ball
throw them in
defies,
the air, make people dive for them.
and the ball defies physics and bounces literally across the entire mall.
I mean, I've seen a bouncy ball do some weird stuff.
Not what that ball did. And then it ends up with this like androgynous child
Who he then assaults.
he then assaults, and then like all the parents start like beating him inside
Like,
this ball pit.
How did he not get arrested?
I don't know. And then like Jim Belushi plays a Santa, and that I don't remember that actor's name, but he's like the brunette, like little man, little
The kind of
person.
gangster looking
Yeah.
little dude.
Who's
Yeah.
in like everything. He was in Seinfeld a lot. They're like, hey, we got one. So he goes to this like shady warehouse where there's like hundreds of Santas, and they're like giving knockoff toys and stuff.
And Vern Troyer is a
like,
little
a little
Santa as
Santa instead
opposed
of
to
an
an elf.
Yeah.
But it was very satisfying when he kicks Vern Troyer or punches him, and
No,
he
he doesn't punch him.
someone punches him.
Yeah, so Vern Troyer's on his neck. He's got his legs wrapped around him, and he's like strangling Arnold. And then there's this giant Santa Claus that he's fighting. And so he ducks, and the giant Santa Claus punches Vern Troyer, and he flies all the way across the factory.
Anyway, I was just going to explain how satisfying it was to watch Vern Troyer fly straight backwards, but you hijacked that. Thank
I'm
you,
sorry,
Michael.
Do you want to do it? And then
No.
I'll cut it out.
No. I hate you.
That's fine. That warehouse scene
Meanwhile,
was great.
Ted
though.
is creeping on Howard's wife at home, and yet, when Howard calls home and Ted the neighbor answers and is eating the cookies making sex noises, he's upset about the cookies. He's not like,
Why
yeah,
are you in
can
my
you put
house?"
my son on the phone, or can you just leave a note for my wife to call me and get out of my house? He's just like really preoccupied with him eating his cookies.
Well, I think at this point, because there's another scene at the beginning of the movie when he's about to leave to go get the toy. This guy comes up with like a reindeer, and then he kind of is like super smug. Like the entire movie, all the interactions with Howard and Freudian slip, maybe? I don't know.
Erections.
Interactions. Howard and Ted, like Ted super talks down to him like a lot. And like he has like this, he's like, don't forget to put your snow chains on. He's like, I'll put a chain around you. Like they hate each other. It's weird.
It's a creepy
understandable, but-
situation.
Yeah, that warehouse scene was fun. And then he impersonates a police officer.
Right. He commits like several felonies in this movie.
Well, and then so like he runs into Myron again at this diner. And then they hear like he has this weird thing where he hallucinates his son as Myron, because he's like,
Right.
my neighbor and I both wanted this toy when we were kids, and I didn't get it, and he
Right.
did, and he became
Now
a
he's a
billionaire. And I didn't.
millionaire, and I'm a loser with no future. Like, I'm pretty sure you're a loser with no future, Myron, because you're mentally ill
Right.
and untreated.
So they hear on the radio that they're gonna give one of these toys away, and so Arnold's character Howard calls on the phone, and then Myron yanks the phone out of the wall and breaks it at a diner.
Right. And then they dine and dash. Like, they break this poor man's phone and then don't pay for their coffee.
But the guy, like the diner proprietor, is like, "Hey, the place is just a block down. You guys
Right.
can run there." And like he's like super cool with it. So they
Well,
run.
and a postal worker would have known where it was anyway.
Probably. I mean, it
If
might
that
not have
was
been on
his
his route.
neighbor, like he would know where it is.
So they're running, and meanwhile, like Myron's like throwing all the mail out and on the ground,
Right.
and they break
Another
into
felony.
the studio. And Arnold just straight kicks in the door while this radio show is
Right.
on air.
Yeah.
And then they hold this guy hostage, and Myron pretends he's got a bomb. He's like, I've got a bomb. I'm a postal worker, and I kept this bomb, and I know
So
it's a
you know
bomb.
I'm unstable.
Right. And so then it turns out like it's not a bomb. But then the cops come, and the same cop is there again
Oh.
who was on the bomb squad. And then it turns out it was a real bomb. There's no way
Yeah.
that these guys wouldn't be arrested.
For real. Yeah. Like serving some serious time.
Because like this cop shows up another couple of times. But even if they didn't run into each other, like this cop is giving him 2 tickets. He would just have to look at his little ticket book, and he would have this guy's information, and he'd be able
Yeah.
to find at least Arnold and arrest him for terrorism.
Yeah. I mean, can we really nitpick this expectation of us suspending our disbelief in this part of the movie?
Well, this was
or
pre
should we
9/11.
share that for later? Because this movie gets a whole lot more
It
ridiculous.
gets a whole lot worse, but it is pre 9/11, so maybe terrorism is not as important back
Oh,
then.
God. That's true. Oh, what a sad world we now live in. Anyway,
I think
so
we
he
could
kind of
just-
gives up on his whole quest for it, and he goes back home, and then he decides that he's
Oh.
gonna steal Ted's
Ted's.
kid's action figure from under his tree. So he goes into Ted's house.
and fights a reindeer.
He fights a reindeer, which I think is pretty amazing, and
The
that was
reindeer
a
looked
hilarious scene.
Way better than
Oh my
the Santa
gosh.
Claus reindeers.
Infinitely better reindeer, but bigger budget. Chris Columbus, Arnold Schwarzenegger, all that stuff.
Right.
So then, I guess Balthazar from the
He ends up in
nativity
the
scene
fire.
gets kicked into the fireplace. At this point, he could have just walked away. Like, the reindeer trashed the living room. No one would suspect it. It's in the fireplace. Like, it's just gonna melt into the bottom of the ashes. It's totally fine. Yet, he scoops it out of the fireplace so that it can burn freely in the living room while
And then
he
kicks it
stomps
through the
on
window.
it. Right. And then they see, eventually, after more shenanigans, his wife and Ted and who else? Someone
carol
else.
singers.
The carolers. They all see that he's standing in the living room. Things have burned, and he's holding the gift. He could have just, drop the gift and be like, I saw there was a fire in your living room, so I broke in to put it out. Done. End of it. Still kind of weird, but no one's any wiser.
Yeah, they
Instead,
wouldn't be able
he
to prove
just, like,
otherwise.
freaks out and, just blows the whole thing.
Well, and then Liz, his wife, was like, you don't go to the parade. We're going to go without you. And Ted, can you drive us? And he leaves, and they leave him in the house, and the reindeer comes back. And he just decks the reindeer.
Punches it.
And then he gets drunk with the reindeer after, where he's like outside.
He
and we're like,
does.
That's not okay.
So there were like 2 counts of animal cruelty there, technically.
Technically.
Although it depends who you ask about the whole getting animals drunk thing.
Well, I know you can't get those pigs drunk anymore.
The
in
beer drinking pigs in the rainforest in St. Croix are no longer allowed to have regular beer. That is true.
Yeah.
But they loved it.
They
so,
loved it.
Depends who you ask.
Right. So I think we can just basically skip to the end of the movie. So he ends up going to the parade and sees the same cop again. The cop chases him. And so he ends up in this like building, and the cop just for whatever reason decides to like not really look for him. And they just assume he's the actor who's supposed to play Turbo Man in the parade.
Right.
And they give him this full costume, and it has a jetpack, like a disc launcher, all the weapons. It has like a motorized boomerang.
Well, and it's like the actor who's playing Booster, that pink saber-toothed cat who like yells at him and talks him into this whole thing. Like, parades are big productions. It's like a big play that's moving through a city. So there are a lot of people involved. Like, where was the director of the
like
whole
a
show?
PA
Where were
comes
the
up and tells
production
him.
assistants?
Well, no, the PA's the one who tells him everything, and he's like, "Thank you for coming in. There was an accident. You got
they
here at
would
the last
know what's
minute,
happening.
and you gave me." And he's like, "You got the instruction manual. Hey, there's one thing we got to change. It's 50 psi's, not 70 psi's. You got to use or something like that."
I
So,
love that they're counting on an actor to know how to do anything.
right,
Like, don't trust actors. Are you crazy?
right, and so. They do this parade thing, and he shows up, and he's in the Turbo Man costume, and they give him like a collector's edition doll. So he kind of like cheats and gives it to his son. But then Sinbad comes out of nowhere and knocks out the villain. Like, he's on a roof. Like, the bad guy's on
Right.
a roof. Why the hell was Sinbad on the roof?
How did he know to look for, like, how did he know that Howard was going to
He
end up
didn't.
on that float? And then how did he know how to operate that grappling hook?
Right. Well, the thing that's like a grappling hook, I could almost understand because it looks like a gun, and he shoots
I'd like
it.
to see you operate a grappling
I
hook,
could,
Michael.
but I'm saying I can suspend my disbelief a little bit because at least it's shaped like a gun. But Arnold Schwarzenegger's character Howard learns how to fly a jetpack instantly. And throws a boomerang with perfect technique.
It just gets really bad, and it keeps getting worse. So before you have time to react to one ridiculous thing, something else ridiculous is happening, and it's just like this bombardment of absolute nonsense for like a good 10 minutes.
And then nobody stops us. Like, everybody thinks it's part of the show.
Right.
And eventually, like, everything works out. He defeats Sinbad. Like, he knocks him off the roof.
Hang on. Sinbad kicks Booster off of the float, that
and then all the kids,
pink cat, and all those children just run out of the crowd and start
we
kicking the
hate you,
hell out of
Booster.
him. Why are those children so aggressive? It's like they were waiting for blood.
It's because everybody hated Booster.
That's quite the hate.
Right.
Poor Booster.
So ultimately, what ends up happening, he defeats him, and then
the poor kid gets like PTSD in the process.
And then Jamie's like, I wish my dad was here to see it. Oh,
Right.
But he probably hates me because I yelled at him.
His
And
mother
then-
at this point has caught up.
And has not realized that that's her husband in the costume.
Despite his very distinct Austrian accent.
Well, it has the microphone that's distorting his voice a little bit.
Right, but he doesn't even have like a full mask. It's just like a yellow shield in front of
Over
his face.
Yeah. So
It's
he
not blocking his face at
No.
all, and she can hear him.
Right. And also, like, how many 6'4" Austrian dudes are out there? In
Like, if my
wherever this
husband
is.
had those biceps, I'd be like, I know that bicep.
It's like a leg.
Pretty much. Yeah, dude. Before he roided, he was still pretty dang big.
Yeah. He was a Mr. Universe, brah.
Brah.
Brobot. Bro Montana. Abraham Lincoln. Bromosexual. So anyway, yeah, he gives him the toy, and like you said, the wife doesn't recognize him, the son doesn't recognize him, and then he takes off the helmet, and he's like, I love you. You're my favorite person. And everything's good. And so Jake Lloyd, or sorry, Jamie goes to Myron, played by Sinbad, and is like, here, you can have the toy for your son because my dad's Turbo Man and I don't need it.
That would never happen. That kid's a jerk. He would not do that.
That wouldn't happen. I mean, I get it in a movie, but he's going to prison. As far as the police know, like, even though it was an accident, he didn't know
He's a
he had a bomb.
terrorist.
He said he had a bomb and
Yeah.
it blew up. Even though it was an accident and he was bluffing, it turned out that it was a bomb. That guy's going to he's
going to terrorist jail.
He's going to terrorist prison.
He's going to terrorist
He's going to
school.
Gitmo. And
Pretty much.
there's no way that there's no way that would happen.
No way.
And then like the cop's like, oh, that was really great. We could use you on the force. And then he sees him, and they just kind of, I guess, come to an understanding. Like, Arnold Schwarzenegger's character broke all kinds of laws too.
Right. At very minimum, like, even if the cop didn't know about all the other stuff, like, he would be wanted for questioning in connection with the terrorism.
Right, because he was there with Myron at the radio station. And I'm sure the radio station would be like, dude, this Austrian dude just kicked in the door and shattered it. Like, it blew off the hinges.
I love
Yeah.
that DJ was in there without a producer or staff or security of any kind.
Well, it was Christmas Eve, so I'm sure like they were working on the skeleton crew.
I mean, Christmas Eve, usually they just have recorded shows, but whatever.
But that's the movie. We hit everything. Is there anything else that you kind of want to talk about?
You know what's interesting to me is watching it this time around. It's infinitely more absurd, yet infinitely more enjoyable.
I think we went into it because we watched it within the last, I'd say, 3 years for sure.
We had low expectations.
We had low expectations for it, but it was fun. Like I don't know what it was, but this time around I had fun with it.
You know what? I don't think the writing was any better than the Santa Claus, but I think this is a testament to what a big budget can do.
Yeah, if you have good production values,
Right.
things are just a little bit better.
So sad, but true. Money makes the world go round.
Yeah.
Even
So,
on Christmas.
would you say this ruins your childhood going back to this one?
I thoroughly enjoyed this film, and I'm glad that we watched it again. That was
Yeah.
a nice way to spend the evening.
Yeah, it was
Michael.
fun. Yeah, I agree with you 100%. Going into this, I remember liking it as a kid, but I remember seeing it a couple years ago not liking it all that much. But I'm glad I gave it a second shot because it was actually pretty fun.
Could it be that this is the first time in our lives that we actually got less cynical?
Maybe.
It's a Christmas miracle.
God bless us, everyone.
I saw this horrible thing today on Facebook about when you take into account when that story was written and how much they said that Bob Cratchit earned a year. He actually earns like $12,000 more a year than someone making minimum wage.
Right.
We're poorer than Bob Cratchit.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's just because I'm an actor.
Yeah. You
Sorry, honey.
dummy. Following your dreams like an idiot.
Our lives are so sad and the world is so bleak. Merry Christmas. Thanks for listening.
All right, so what are we going to do next week?
I don't know. Did we plan this?
Yes, we did.
Um,
What movie's in theaters right now that had a movie?
Jumanji?
Jumanji.
We're doing Jumanji?
We're doing Jumanji.
I don't remember this conversation, but I'm excited nonetheless.
Yep. We're going to watch Jumanji, and it's going to be great, I hope.
You know, I think I actually like surprises. It's just been so long since I've had a good one that I thought I didn't like surprises.
All right. Where can our listeners find you, Katrina?
In the depths of hell and all over the internet at Katrinosity. Check out my YouTube.
And if you want to check out anything that's MDXpods related, you can go to mdxpods.com. Of course, we're on Twitter and Instagram at MDXpods. Please check us out on patreon.com if you want to support the show. We've got a bunch of rewards, and you get access to these shows early. Also, check out our other show, Remake Rewind. It's pretty good. I like it a lot. But other than that, thank you for listening, and happy holidays.
Thanks for listening. Okay, bye.